Let us proceed towards our illustration 5. In the previous part 1, I have discussed about the computation of transaction value and the output tax liability. We have calculated the transaction value because in the question they have not made a mention about the selling price, total selling price. So we have to use purchase information and other expenses information to arrive at transaction value, and the same transaction value is considered as goods sold, and that is used to calculate output tax liability. So we are continuing towards the computation where today in this part we are calculating the total input tax credit that is available to Shreya and the net GST payable. So let us move towards the computation. So this is the problem that we are discussing. In the first part of the problem, I have already explained what are the items that the items on which input tax credit is available. Whenever a purchase of goods or services is made, then the person, the registered dealer, whoever makes such purchases is allowed input tax credit. So in that case, there are few raw materials which are purchased by Shreya. On that, she will get input tax credit. Those are raw material P, which she purchased from Kerala, and then raw material Q, which she has imported from Japan, and then few raw materials that she has purchased from local market, and the raw material that she has purchased from Baikampadi Industrial Estate, which is SEZ, that is considered as deemed to be import because uh, when we sell when we sell some goods to SEZ, that we consider it as export, deemed to be export. So whenever we make purchase from SEZ, we consider it as import. So hence ITC is available on that transaction as well. There was another raw material purchased from a composition dealer. Since he is a composition dealer, if any registered dealer makes purchase from composition dealer, on that ITC is not available. So that's why on this transaction there is no ITC. And then there was one more transaction, is with respect to service. He is also taking some service as well. She is also taking some service as well from a registered dealer. So on that also she will get input tax credit. If you see these transactions that we have discussed, so here there are four raw materials that she has purchased. On that she will get input tax credit, and one service she has received from a registered dealer. On that also she will get input tax credit. So let us move towards the computation of the total input tax credit available. So this is how we need to calculate input tax. The first raw material that she has purchased from Kerala. So the place of supply is in Kerala, and the goods is moved from Karnataka to Kerala. So interstate transaction. So IGST Shreya has to pay to her supplier, and therefore she will get IGST credit of 56,000 rupees. That is 2 lakh goods she has purchased. Rate of tax applicable on raw material P was 28%. So 56,000 will be the tax that she is paying to her supplier. So this is she is paying on her input, and therefore she will get input IGST of 56,000 rupees. Similarly, she has purchased raw material Q from Japan. Again an interstate transaction because it is an import. So 5% is the rate of tax that is applicable on the raw material Q. Therefore, the value of the goods that is imported from Japan is 20 lakh. Therefore, IGST input tax credit that she is going to get is 1 lakh rupees. Next, raw material R that she has purchased from SEZ. This is also considered to be an import, right? But SEZ is in which place? It is in Baikampadi, which is in Mangalore. That means the transaction is occurring within state. Since it is within state transaction, CGST and SGST is applicable. So therefore she is getting CGST and SGST credit. 5% is the GST that is applicable on raw material R. Since it is CGST and SGST, it is 50% of that, which is 2.5% each. Okay, so that we have charged here. So this is the input tax credit she is getting on her purchase. And then there is one more raw material, set of raw material she has purchased from local market. So she is purchasing from the local market, so hence CGST and SGST is charged. 12% was the rate of GST. when it comes to CGST and SGST, it will be 6% each. So that sums up to around 15,000 rupees. Okay, so that we have charged here. And then finally she has taken a service from a registered dealer. So worth of the service is 50,000. GST rate on the service is 18%. Since the place of supply of registered dealer is not given, so hence we have to take it as CGST and SGST. I mean intra-state transaction, within state transaction. So therefore 9% each. So 4,500 and 4,500 will be the input tax credit that she is getting on the service received from a registered dealer. So these are the transaction with respect to input that she has purchased, and total ITC available in case of CGST after adding all these components will be 28,250 CGST, 28,250 SGST, and IGST of 1,56,000. So these can be used to set off the output tax liability that she has to pay to the government. So let us move towards the final calculation, that is net GST payable. So this is how we need to calculate net GST payable. We have to consider total output tax liability. This part is there in part 1. I have provided a link of the part 1 in the description section. Kindly click on the link and see the calculation, how we have arrived at these values. And input tax credit we have calculated here. The total, if you take CGST tax liability, so she is having a CGST input tax credit of 28,250, which we have calculated previously. So that she can use to offset that. So that I have done here. Then SGST tax input tax credit was same amount, 28,250, and IGST was around 1,56,000 input tax credit. So first what we have to do is we have to set off from the same head. Each of the tax liability must be set off from the same head of input tax credit. So that we have done here, 28,250, 28,250 and 1,56,000. There we have utilized all the credit that is available in our calculation, that is 1,56,000 of IGST, 28,250 of SGST and CGST respectively. So that we have already utilized. So no more credit available to Shreya. So final net GST payable will be 23,395 that she has to pay to the central government as CGST. Again 23,395 that she has to pay to Karnataka government as SGST. And finally she has to pay 24,750 as IGST tax liability to the central government. So this is how we need to calculate net GST payable. There are few transactions that we have not considered in the calculation. First one being with respect to purchase that she has made from composition dealer. On that I said there is no input tax credit available. So for that I have written a note here. No ITC is available on the purchase of goods from the composition dealer. So this is the first note you supposed to write. And then there was one more transaction with respect to subsidy. We have added the subsidy that is received from NGO because that is already included in the price. That means they have deducted the price, they deducted the subsidy, right? So because of that we have to add it back. Only reason is, according to GST Act, only the subsidy which is given by the central government or state government can be deducted from the price. No other subsidy, if it is received from a company or a foreign institution or an NGO, that should not be considered while calculating the transaction value, only for tax purpose. Okay, so that's why we have added it back. For that also I have written a note here. Subsidy received from NGO shall not be considered for deduction, and since it is reduced from the price, we need to add it back to nullify its effect. So this is the note you need to write. And then finally on there are few raw materials, materials that she has purchased for personal use. That transaction should not be considered for computing the value of taxable supply, that is transaction value. And again no ITC is available on the same goods that she has used for personal purpose. So for that also I have given a note here. No ITC is available on the goods or materials purchased for personal use. So these are the three notes that you need to write to complete the solution to this question. So this is the solution. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you like the video, Please subscribe to the channel by clicking on subscribe button and press bell icon for continuous notification. You can share the video among your classmates and friends, whoever wants to learn about GST, especially utilization of input tax credit. If you have any doubt or if you need any clarification, if you have any feedback to be given, please write under the comment section. Thank you for watching.